Welcome to the NOSA Unleashed podcast, where we want to expose and remove the stigma surrounding mental health by discussing real-life challenges and obstacles that keep us paralyzed and fearful to move forward. Let us inspire you to believe there is more to life than what you are currently experiencing. Now is the time to end the silence and pursue the path to purpose and fulfillment. We will do this together because no one stands alone. Welcome back to the NOSA Unleashed podcast. I'm Laura Burgoyne, joined here with my sister Connie Blackwood as we continue our conversation about identity. And this week we are wanting to talk about true identity. What does true identity look like? And how do you establish that in your life when you maybe have come from a place of basing your identity on external circumstances or external influences? And I want to just share a quote that will be in my future book. My future book is actually about identity, and I'm not exactly sure when it will be released yet, but I'm looking forward to releasing that. But it's false identity is about getting your identity from external influences, whereas true identity comes from the revelation of God, who God created us to be. And, ultimately that is the foundation that we need to build our identity on. True identity is only found in God. And this has been my experience. This is what I have found to be true. And I believe, Connie, you have too. How does that relate with you?
That's completely true for me. The more that I discover about God and it's like I discover new things about myself because, I read Psalm 139 and it talks about how he knows me, how he knows my thoughts. He just knows every detail of my existence. And it's just like, wow, okay. So then I read another part of the Bible and I learn about how he understands me, how much he loves me, and how much he cares about me. And it starts me thinking about why. Why does he love me? What does he see in me that I don't see in myself? And the other thing I think about is the fact that God knows us because he created us. So he knows our past, our present, and our future because God is bigger than we are. He knows he's outside of time. And so of course he knows our future. So he knows things about me that I don't know about myself. And so I can trust him to reveal to me the things that I don't necessarily know about myself. And it's exciting, when he tells me something about myself and then I'm like, oh, that is true. That is exciting, and things that I forget about or things that I let go of. He reminds me that those are
Mm-hmm.
still part of who I am. And I'm like, oh, that is true. And I can walk in those things. And it's exciting for me. It feels like the more that I spend time with God, the more I understand who I am.
Yeah. And that begs the question, like, if we don't have a relationship with God, like, it'll be hard, right? We'll struggle. It'll be hard for us to find that identity. And that's why when we lack that relationship with God, we are grasping at anything, any influence, any, thing that can define who we are. And that's why it is so important that we, understand, first of all, who God is, how much
Mm-hmm.
he loves us, and the fact that he did create us, and he created us for a purpose. He created us very intently. And, you might think, well, if God created all of us, then aren't we all the same? No, he created us so differently. There's not one human being on this planet that is the same. Even identical twins, they have different likes, they have different dislikes, they have different giftings. I actually know a couple identical twins in my life. And when I look at their lives, I think, wow, the intricacy of who God is and how he intertwines that into who we are. Even my own children. I have 4 biological boys and we've adopted my nephew. And when I look at them, the just the uniqueness of each one of them, they are such a blessing in my life, but yet God's created them all so unique. And so that's why I think it's a trap too for us to even compare ourselves to someone else, right? Like, well, if that person is defined by this, maybe I need to define myself by that. But no, the thing is, we need to have our identity founded in who God says we are. Who did God create us to be?
And
Who does God say we are, right?
even in that line is every fingerprint is different.
Mm,
Like there's not a single person's fingerprint that is like anyone else's. That is
yeah.
crazy to think about. So if you can think about a God who can create even our fingerprints uniquely, how can't he create our insides uniquely? Like, come on. Hello.
Mhm.
They can even ID you now off of like different body parts because they're so unique. Like, that's crazy to think about. It's
Mhm.
not just fingerprints anymore. And so that's amazing to me that even the outside of our bodies are so unique. And because of that uniqueness, the only one who truly understands exactly who we are meant to be is God, because he's the one who
Yeah.
created us that way. There is no one else who can understand us like that. It's pretty amazing to think about. You get to actually consult the person that knows what he meant for you to be, what he meant for you to do. You
Mhm.
know, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, which is why it's like, I remember in my journey, I struggled so much with identity to the point where I felt like my life had no purpose, no hope, and I had given up completely on life. I had no hope for anything. And I had a moment in my life where that was so transformational, and it came down to God revealing to me who he created me to be. And he had to strip away all the lies, all the false identity, all the things that I had based my sense of identity on, strip that all away and replace it with the truth. And, that's what we need. We need to be able to come before God and say, you know what? I want to know the truth. I want to know who you say that I am. Who did you create me to be? And it not be based on any perception of, who anyone else is in our life, or the words that someone has spoken over us, or the experiences that we've had, right? Even those rejections or those moments of pain, those traumas, those don't define who we are. We are defined by God. And I love that, like you said, the closer we get to God, the more time we spend with God, that's when we actually discover who we truly are. And some of
Mhm.
the things I've discovered as I've, spent time with God and have been getting to know, one of the things is that I am unconditionally loved. You are unconditionally loved. There is nothing about us that God does not cherish because he created us, right? Of course, sin and all those kind of things, like he grieves over those things, but he doesn't see those things. He sees you for who you are, who he created you to be, and who you truly are. That person is unconditionally loved. We don't have to prove ourselves to anyone, right? That's why when we understand who we are in God, then we can supersede and overcome rejection easily, right? Because we realize that our value isn't based on how someone else loves us or how someone else perceives us. It's based on God, how God sees us, how God loves us. And I love that aspect about God, is the fact that, and I'm still coming into revelation about the extent of that and how much that actually means in my life, is that, I don't have to perform. I don't have to be, you know, anyone other than who I am to be fully accepted by God.
Yeah, I love that. And going even deeper than that means that he truly sees who we are. He sees who we are at our core. He sees all the dark stuff, all the good stuff. He sees absolutely everything. And he loves us regardless. of any of it. And, I think so we sometimes get so caught up in, you know, our dark stuff that we think we can't be loved, or we get
Right.
so caught up in being invisible to people that we don't think we're seen. But
Mm-hmm.
God does see it, and God does love us through it. And then the only one who can truly understand us, like I said before, is God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the even better than that, even better than being seen and understood, he accepts us for who we are. We try so hard to be accepted by people, but God accepts us without us having to try. Like, that's amazing, where you don't have to try. He just accepts you. No matter
Mm-hmm.
where you're at, no matter what you've done, he loves you and accepts you. And that's a pretty powerful thing. We all want to be loved and accepted, but God does that freely.
And I love the fact that we are not, like our identity is not formed by what we do, right? I've heard this saying before, we are human beings, not human doings,
Hmm.
right? And, you know, you might think it's a trite saying or that it's just like too simple, but how many times do we define ourselves by what we do,
So many
right?
times.
So many times. And realizing that I just need to be,
Hmm.
right? I get to just be. I am a human being. I am not defined by what I do. I am defined by who God created me to be, and I can just be content in that. And actually, you know, uh, enjoy the differences, right? Revel in those differences. I'm learning to actually love the fact that I am who I am and there's nobody else like me. Like I'm actually seeing the value in that now in my older years and seeing that that makes me unique. That
Hmm.
makes me um amazing and perfect in God's sight. And then what's the purpose in that? It's because God has created us for a purpose, right? A lot of identity comes to well, why am I even here, right? What is the purpose of my life? And fundamentally, I believe that that also is only found in God. You find your true purpose when you find out who you are and you find out why God created you. What was the purpose for which you were created? And why did God knit you together the way that you are, with all the giftings, with all the character, with all the skills, with even the way you think? Like, why did God knit you together like that? What is the purpose? And then being able to step into that purpose. I love that.
And to think about the fact that he made you unique for a unique purpose. No one else can do what he's designed for you to do, because it takes exactly what he's put inside of you to be able to do it. So it's not like, oh, if I don't do it, someone else can do it. No,
Hmm.
like it's a specific purpose that only you can do. And that's incredible, to know that there's something that only you can do out there. No one else can do it, only you.
Hmm.
So to me, that's exciting. That's something I want to walk towards. That's something I want to walk in, right?
Yeah, not be a clone of someone else, right?
Hmm.
you know that's what I see so many times, is like we see all these like mini clones of somebody that we've looked up to, we've admired, we want to aspire to be like them. But when we do that, we're negating who we are, what our purpose is, why we were created. And we can equally as well like walk in our purpose and have other people look at us and be like, wow, they really have a strong sense of identity and they really know who they are and they know where they're going and they have purpose. And that isn't so that they want to become like us, it's so that they would be encouraged to do the same, so
Hmm.
that they would be able to spend time with God, get to know him, and come to an understanding of who they are,
Mhm.
who they've been created to be, and then step into their purpose.
So true. And it's, I think when I think back to, who I was when I was in my 20s and how, much I had built my identity on what other people wanted me to be. And, the transformation process for me was literally giving 6 months of my life to God,
Mhm.
and, pressing in and figuring out, okay, what are the lies? Like Laura was saying, what isn't true? What is the truth? What do I hold on to? Because I, at that point, had lost so much of myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what was left of just me. And,
Right.
it was incredible just to have that 6 months to go, okay, this is me. This is who I am. And since then, like I said, God's been revealing things over time that I had forgotten about, or, but he brought back that core and then has been releasing more things as we've been going on. And I'm ready for those things to be revealed and for me to step into those new things, because I believe that even like our big purpose that's so unique requires us to take steps towards it. It's not just
Mhm.
instant you're there.
I just want to read Psalms 139. Is that okay?
Since I brought it up, sure, go for it.
Just getting to it. Okay. So, Psalm 139. O Lord, you have searched me and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You're familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely, O Lord. You hem me in behind and before. You've laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light will become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for the darkness is light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before even one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you. If only you would slay the wicked, O God, away from me, you bloodthirsty men. They speak of you with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord, or abhor those who rise up against you? I have nothing but hatred for them. I count them my enemies. And then the scripture closes with this: Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me into the way everlasting. And that right there is, I believe, the key, right? For me, my big moment of aha and revelation and transformation came from a moment where I humbled myself before God and I said to him, if you don't do something in my life, I will not live to see another day. And he came through for me. And just like this scripture, search me, O God, and know my heart. God knows our heart. He knows what we're thinking. He knows what we're feeling. He knows what we're going through. It says, test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me and lead me to the way of everlasting. You know, our heart posture needs to be, God, show me who I am. Show me who you created me to be. Search my heart, test my thoughts, you know, show me what the truth is. Reveal the truth to me, right? And many of us are confused. We've had so many messages spoken over us. So many things, you know, have happened to us that have defined us, but we need to come back to the basics. We need to come back to the truth, the foundation of who God is, and that He created us, and He created us for a purpose, and seek that value, seek that identity from Him alone, because that is the only place we're going to find it. If we search for it for any other source, it will be false. It will be tainted. It will not be the full picture, and it will not bring us freedom. And so my encouragement to you today is, maybe you don't know God. Maybe even the fact that we're talking about God and even reading the scripture to you, you're like, yeah, I don't think that's for me. I challenge you. Ask God, if you exist, if you are real, show yourself to me, and wait and see what He does. You know, there's no other way for you to know whether this is true or not than to ask Him to reveal Himself to you. And He revealed Himself to me in such a powerful and profound way that it literally transformed my life. After that day, I never once again questioned my value. I never questioned who I was. Of course, I grew in that, and I'm still discovering all the nuances of who I am and all the things that God created me to be, but I never had that same sense of self-loathing or that sense of that my life had no purpose. That day I understood on a foundational level that I was created by God. I am loved unconditionally by God, and my life has purpose. And that has been the driving force behind my life ever since. And that happened to me at the age of about 15. And that is my prayer for, anyone who listens to this, that you would experience that relationship with God where He could reveal to you your true identity, who you truly are, and that He would be able to clear away all of the confusion, clear away everything that has distorted your sense of who you are, and bring you truth. Connie, do you have any last thoughts as we close up for today?
The last thought I have is basically back to the negative versus positive thoughts, right? And, hold on to the positive and let go of those negative things, because those negative things aren't God's heart for you. God's heart for you are things that are honorable, things that are right, things that are true. That is God's heart for you. And those are the things that you need to hold on to. Because so many times we get wrapped up in the negative, and that's a human response. We focus on negative things, but God's heart towards you is positive. It's always the positive things. And, it changes things when you focus on positive versus negative. It changes how you react to situations. It changes a lot of what you think about and what you hold on to. So I encourage you to focus on the positive and let God speak into that, speak into who you are, because that's how you build the firm foundation that you can build your identity on and not be shaken.
Mm-hmm. If you want to learn more about identity, Connie and I actually will be teaching a webinar coming up, and we'd love for you to join us live. We teach for about an hour, and then we have a live, sharing time and question and answer time where, you can really share your heart, share your journey, and we can just talk things through. We'd love for you to join us live. It's happening Thursday, June 5th. At 7 o'clock, and we meet on Zoom. And so you can meet us from the comfort of your own home. And if you want to register and reserve your spot for that, just go to our website at nosafoundation.com, and you'll be able to reserve your spot there. And we look forward to seeing you, hopefully on our webinar in June. We'll see you next time on the NOSA Unleashed podcast. Bye.